our Prime Minister started Mask India movement, I just started thinking more and more about mask. Till this COVID era, we never paid much attention to the mask. We just used the mask, whatever was supplied to us by our local surgical supplier. And besides being writer, I'm a little good photographer, and this is my recent photographs, which I have named Gigi Visha. And this is the octopussy, that is octopus in the eye. Another octopus in the eye. This is persistent people remembering for the non-ophthalmic audience. And then I had to operate this child who had bilateral white mature cataract on 30th of March, soon after the lockdown. And when this family kept on coming, I observed that this guy was wearing N95 mask with this yellow valve here. The child was wearing khadi mask, and the mother was just wearing a scarf for her chunni as a mask. So this family started, making me think and dig deeper into the mask. So then I realized and found that maskology in itself is a branch of study. And you can do a diploma in maskology and it takes about 3 years for becoming a maskology diploma holder from a polytechnic in China or in Korea. And there are more than 700 types of masks, from professional masks, health workers masks to various different vocational and professional masks. These masks are designed for spray paint worker who work in the car factory. And there is a very special kind of mask which is known as cut methane mask. That means this mask has some kind of substance which will absorb methane, convert methane by chemical into oxygen, and allow only the oxygen to pass into the lungs of the wearer. This is especially useful for those people who work to clean the sewer. Many times we hear that some people died in the sewer because of the methane as soon as they went down into the sewer. Many times this hadsa happens in India. If they were wearing that methane mask, this would not have happened. And then these are the political or fashion kind of masks. And these are the masks which are carnival masks, which are used in Rio de Janeiro or Venice Carnival. And this is the mask which is used, which is known as theatrical mask or cinematic mask. This is Amitabh Bachchan in Pa. There's another branch of maskology, which is prosthetic mask for these kind of unfortunate patients. So maskology in itself is a big subject which would take at least years to study if you really want to study. But what concerns us is at present the mask of health care workers. So this is the study that probability of contagion if the spreader is not wearing mask and if we are not wearing mask, very, very high chance of having infection. If we are wearing mask but the spreader is not wearing the mask, then also the chances are very high, because this can go into your eyes and infect you, or it can go around the mask and infect you. If the spreader is wearing the mask and you are not wearing mask, then also there is a medium chance. And if the spreader is wearing the mask and you are wearing mask, chances are low. If the distance between you and you is 1.5 meters, the chances are lower. So, then when I was studying the mask, I came to these three main different kind of masks, which are known as single-use face masks or surgical mask or respirator mask. Now these, up till now, most of us would be probably buying this single-use face mask, which are available for 3 rupees or 4 rupees as disposable. And we were even using this in our theater. But then I realized that these masks are actually meant only for, occasions wherein they have to prevent their lungs from getting this kind of floor or this kind of lappy worker or those who are scrubbing the paint from the wall. So these masks are no good for healthcare workers, which I'll show you in the video later on. And the surgical masks are according to the US classification, there are level 1, level 2, and level 3. And this level 3 surgical mask is the best for us because it filters the particle size of 3 microns, which is the size of bacteria. Average size of bacteria, more than 98% efficiency, and 0.1 micron, more than 98% efficiency, which is the size of most of the viruses. This is the N95 masks, which are tested only for 0.3 microns. Actually, surgical masks, in my opinion, are better than N95 masks because N95 standard does not make the manufacturer to test for 0.1 micron size. They test only for 0.3 micron size. So there are 3 levels: level 1, level 2, and level 3. The level 1 masks are only for procedures. That is for procedures like PR or PV or direct ophthalmoscopy, where you go very close to the patient. Level 2 masks are for light to moderate amount of fluid spray or aerosol generating kind of procedure. So this is for minority, like operation, like the ophthalmic surgeries. And level 3 masks are where there's a lot of aerosol generation. So these are to be used by all the people who are using power drills, especially the dentists, ENT surgeons, the orthopedic surgeons, and neurosurgeons, because when they use the power drill, they are generating very large amount of aerosols. There are 5 F's to be considered of surgical mask. One is filtration capacity, which is denominated as 95%, 99%, or 100%. Fluid resistance, that means if when you are doing the surgery and if the fluid comes splashing onto your mask, how much fluid it will prevent from going onto your lips or onto your nose. Also, the flow rate is very important because of oxygen and carbon dioxide, which should be at least 95 liters per minute in order to have enough oxygen for you. Otherwise, you will suffer from hypoxia or hyper carbon dioxide level of your blood. 85 liters per minute is the cutoff limit. 95 is preferable and ideal. The other F is fitting. How well fitting is the mask around your face so that there is no side leak. And then other are the features like no slip or no nose slip, anti-fog foam strip at the nose so that those surgeons who are having spectacles, they will not have fogging, and whether the mask is having an eye protection shield incorporated into the mask or not. Now, level 3 surgical mask ideally should be used only with the straps, because with ear loops, you can never have the tight fitting, and usually ear loops you cannot even tighten, and even if you tighten it by knotting behind your ear, the ear would slightly come forward, and those rubbers are very, very loose, so they will become very slinky, so they don't give you tight fit. So surgical mask level 3 with straps are the ideal for the surgeons in the operation theater. For the OPD procedures or for minor examination procedure, you can use ear loop, but not in surgery. Now, what are the 3 layers of protection? So the outermost layer is made of hydrophobic and impervious material, which is impervious to water, so that blood, body fluids cannot pass through and wet up your lips. The middle layer is made up of electrostatic filter, which is a very special kind of filter. Now, this filter is known as spun blown or some kind of technology, which is a non-woven basically material, but the fibers are electrostatic, so they will attract the bacteria or virus so that the virus will stick there, as if your hair would stick with your comb in the winter when the hair is dry. So that electrostatic property, as well as its matrix, is such that the virus, in order to pass through this filter, has to travel too much of zigzag. So when that zigzag travel takes place, the motion of that aerosol is broken, and most of the viruses and most of the bacteria would be trapped into this filter. And the inner layer is actually hydrophilic, which is a non-woven cotton, which absorbs the surgeon's saliva and gives a nice feeling to your lip, because you don't like to have the plastic fibers touching your lips for a very long duration. More than half an hour, you don't tolerate that. So this cotton layer, inner side, gives you very nice feeling, and you can continue 3-4 hours or 5 hours of work with that. Now let us see. This is the outer layer which I have made up into a small funnel, and we put a water into it. And as you can see that it is so hydrophobic that water does not get absorbed, and even the water does not leak. Even the inner side does not become wet. It remains as dry as if there was no water outside. Now this is the other side which is going to remain towards our lip. This is the cotton made up of non-woven cotton, and as you can see, all this water will be absorbed. So this is going to absorb your saliva and your aerosol or microdroplet when you are talking or being ordered to the nurses when we are speaking during this. As you can see that this layer has absorbed all water. Now let us dissect this mask and see what is the center. So these are the three layers. The outer blue one is hydrophobic, the inner one white, which is cotton, and the central one, as I said, is a special kind of filter which will trap the bacteria by electrostatic charge and by Brownian zigzag movement. Now this filter is such that when you touch the flame, it will just evaporate. It will not burn. It will not even become black. Whereas this is the tissue paper which will catch fire and it will burn because it contains carbon. So that one is non-carbon containing kind of a thing which does not catch fire. So this is N95. Now KN95 is a Chinese standard which is almost equivalent to N95 of US standard. And now what is this valve for? This valve is actually for exhalation. So when the patient is taking the breath, when the wearer is taking the breath, the oxygen or the breath is going through this area. But when the patient is exhaling, he is exhaling from this valve. So when a patient comes in our clinic with this kind of mask, and if this patient is a spreader or a silent carrier, we are not protected, because his exhalation is going to come out without any filtration. This valve will open when the patient will exhale. So if anybody comes into your clinic with this kind of valve mask, give them a mask or a level 3 surgical mask on top of this. Don't examine this patient, don't go close to this patient, because they are going to exhale their breath without any filtration onto your mouth. This is another set of masks which is known as activated charcoal mask. Now this mask has an additional filter layer which is an activated charcoal. So charcoal has a property that it absorbs almost all the smelly material. So if you are going to work in a very smelly kind of environment, or if you are going to do a lot of cauterization during your surgery, wherein you are likely to inhale too much of protein putrefaction, then it's ideal to have this carbon charcoal mask. And the best test for this is that when you wear this mask and you squirt a perfume in the room, you will not be able to smell the perfume. Now the question was, can I wash my mask? There are several studies which says no, because washing makes it N80 from N95, because this N95 mask material is not only fibers, but it is also having some ground substance. Like we have in cornea, we have fibrils, and then we have keratoglycans as a ground substance. This is having some kind of filler material between the fibrils, and to hold the fibers in their own place. So when you wash them, the ground material goes away and as the porosity will increase.
काकड़ियों सर का स्क्रीन शेयर नहीं हो रहा है.
स्क्रीन शेयर नहीं हो रहा है.
Yes.
Okay.
उनका स्क्रीन ब्लैंक है. बाकी ये पार्टिसिपेंट्स आ रहे हैं पूरे साइड से.
Ashutosh sir, everything is going well on my screen. I think there is some issue.
दोबारा ज्वाइन करने को बोलो क्या? Hello?
Okay. Is my screen visible, Dr. Pankaj?
Yes, sir. Very well. You can please continue. They will solve the technical issues. No issues. No problem.
Okay, fine. So, this ground substance gets washed away by washing it even with water or washing with alcohol. So, this should not be done. N95 mask is not washable. If you wash it, you have to throw it. And there are n number of studies, and here is a study where before washing, the particle filtration efficiency was 99%. After washing with water and soap, the particle filtration has gone down to 78%. So it's almost like an N78 kind of mask. And when you apply alcohol, again, the same thing happens. The ground substance goes away, so porosity increases, and it is no good. Let's keep this slide. Okay, now, this is very interesting study. The flu infection in nurses using N95 versus surgical mask. The number of participants in this study, the number of volunteers was 2,862. So this is a huge study. And flu virus is only 40 nanometer versus the 120 nanometer of SARS-CoV-2. So it's almost like 1/4 the size or 1/3 the size of the SARS-CoV. So they tested, the nurses were randomly assigned to wear surgical mask or N95 mask. And it was very surprising to find that N95 mask wearers were infected 8.2%, whereas surgical mask wearers were infected only 7.2%. Versus in non-immunized, no mask wearer, infection rate of flu was 37%. So it was almost like 6 to 7 times more risk without wearing. So this study of such a large population proves that surgical mask level 3 with straps is actually much better than N95 mask. This is another study done in Canada on 446 nurses, the same result, 10.5% rate of infection with N95 mask, whereas only 9.4% risk of infection with surgical mask. And this study was done on 212 volunteers wearing surgical mask versus N95 respirator on 210. So more or less the same number on either side. And they found that coronavirus infection occurred in surgical mask in only 9 out of 212, whereas it occurred in 12 patients out of 210 in N95 respirator. So there's a definitely higher percentage of N95 respirator making you infected. So all these 3 studies are online, and you can visit that, and it proves that surgical mask is even slightly better than N95, this N95 mask. And this guy is Thomas Talhem, who is PhD in air filtration. And his website is worth visiting. Spending at least 3 to 4 hours on his website will clear up everything about mask. And I strongly recommend all of us that please visit his website. This is his colleague, Paddy Robertson. Both of them are PhDs in air filtration. And this is their website, smartairfilters.com. And go to the mask section. You will know everything you need to know about mask. And also, if you go to 3M's website, you will find a lot of information about the mask. And then I came across this study, Aerosol Science and Technology is a journal where they said characterization of aerosol produced during surgical procedures in hospitals in different departments. And after reading that study, I realized that, oh my God, all of us most of us, those who are working in government hospitals or those of us who are working in charitable hospitals, are given a gown and the mask and the cap which are made from government purchased khadi. And these khadi cloth has so much of porosity that it is no good as a mask. It doesn't fit. It just gives you a sense of security, or it's more or less like a surgical uniform rather than any protection. And this mask is at least little better because this has two layers. There is one white layer inside and one green layer outside. But these single layer khadi masks are absolutely bakwas. There's no point in wearing those. And these kind of single layer or two layer clothes are also not really protective, but that's okay. That's for the patient. For us, we have to protect ourselves. And as I said, orthopedic surgeons, neurosurgeons, ENT surgeons, when they do mustard and bone surgeries, and dentists when they do this drilling, because this drill is rotating at a very, very high speed and it is generating so much of aerosol, and that if the patient is a carrier, that aerosol will go in the entire operating theater. And if you are having a HEPA filter, this aerosol will go down and then go back into the duct. And most of the HEPA filter duct are usually vented outside. Most of them have the ventilation of the HEPA filter of operation theater sometimes in the passages, so that infection can spread into your wards and or your rooms also. So this is the mask which we were using so far. These cloth single layer mask, and as you can see, a simple blow will kill the flame even at 1.5 feet distance or 2 feet distance. So this is so much porous that if a patient coughs or if a patient sneezes, there's no way you can protect yourself. The aerosol will come out. This is cheap kind of Chinese made surgical mask. So this is so much porous that although this is known as surgical mask, this is actually not surgical mask. The surgical mask would not allow the flame to kill. And you can see the difference between a good quality surgical mask porosity versus the cheap quality surgical mask porosity. And as I said, N95 versus KN95, there's hardly any difference. It's only the Chinese and American standard. There are some differences, but we don't need to go so much into that depth. And there's one suggestion, one study has suggested that when you are putting on N95 mask, do gargling of Listerine or do tooth brushing, because after 3 hours or 4 hours, you will start smelling your own breath as if your own teeth and gums have started rotting. So it's always better, because this does not have a good permeability for carbon dioxide to go out. And the price of N95 has skyrocketed from 65 rupees anywhere up to 400, 500 rupees. So, I had a chance of visit Vardha Ashram just before the lockdown. When I came to Amravati, I went there, and there was an inspiration which I learned from there about the Swadeshi movement. So during this lockdown, I thought, can we do something about making a Swadeshi mask? So this is the Central Salt and Marine Chemical Research Institute here in Bhavnagar, which is a huge central government facility with more than about 450 PhD scientists working on marine chemicals, how to filter the marine seawater. We are a port city. So this is an institute of very high repute who have a great expertise in reverse osmosis and nanofiltration and ultrafiltration membranes. So reverse osmosis membranes does not allow anything bigger than water and some amount of small salts to pass through. So RO membrane has porosity which will trap almost all the bacteria, it will allow very few viruses to pass, and bigger viruses cannot pass. So we, joined hands with them and tried to develop a mask out of the RO membranes which they were using for different purpose. This is Dr. Kanan Srivastav, who is the head of, they are all PhD guys, who is the head of Central Salt. This is me, and this is Dr. V.K. Shahi and Dr. Ankur Goel. So during this lockdown, in about first 15-20 days, we designed a mask, which is better than N95 mask. It is a medicated mask or a blue mask having a cloth which is having some salt of copper, and this copper helps to kill the virus on the outer surface itself. And it's a very simple design. With RO membrane, you don't need actually a nose clip because RO membrane is slightly cut up, so it stays on your nose very tightly, even without the nose clip. And very simple stitching design, very simple pattern. It is actually 5-layer mask. The outer and inner layers are some kind of medicated fabric. These two are the type of filters which I discussed, and this is the RO membrane, which is in the center. This was the size. You can see it from the visiting cards. What is the size? These are the dimensions. And so this blue mask has advantages that it is N100, so no virus can pass through it. So safer than and better than N95 or N99. It can be impregnated with dilute povidone betadine solution or chlorhexidine, or you can spray Dettol on the outer surface after 3 days or 4 days of use or after washing. It can be washed for at least 500 times in washing machine, in hot water also, because these all things are designed to remain in water for years together. And there's no metal nose clip, so it can be irradiated in microwave oven for any number of times. It is very cost effective. It would not cost more than 40 rupees to make versus 400 for N100 mask. And it can be reused for at least 500 times. So per use cost is as low as 8 paisa. You can see how forcefully I'm trying to blow the flame, but the flame hardly even flickers. So it is that much impervious, and you can put it in microwave oven and just run the microwave oven for 1 minute and destroy all the bacteria, all the viruses. The microwave will just pop the organisms like it is popping the corn. And after my last talk, there are so many doctors who asked me that we want to purchase that mask. So here I want to clarify that we are not mask manufacturers. We only researched a mask making it from RO membrane, and now that institute has got the certification from STIRA, which is a mask approval agency of government of India, and they are actually in discussion with some companies to produce it commercially. Now, in the meanwhile, I came across this paper which was published on 2nd April 2020. And this paper is a very nice study done by Alex Chin and his group in USA. This describes the stability of SARS-CoV-2 virus in different environmental conditions. And this knowledge is very, very useful for us to develop something on our own end. According to that study, on paper and tissue paper, the virus survives only for 3 hours. Now, this is very important. It only survives for 3 hours. On copper, because of the copper ion formation, it can survive only 4 hours. On cardboard, it survives for 24 hours. On wood, for 24 hours. On cloth, for 24 hours. On stainless steel, 2 to 3 days. Polypropylene plastic, 3 days. Glass, 4 days. On paper currency, 4 days. Now, this paper currency is not actually paper currency. We just name it paper currency. Actually, it is a plastic currency because 90% or 80% of the fibers contained in this paper are synthetic nylon fibers. So, paper money, you consider it as good as a plastic. So, it survives for 4 days. And on the outer side of the surgical mask, which is non-hygroscopic or hydrophobic, it can survive for 7 days. So from this study, after digging deep into it, we came to a conclusion that cellulose has some interference with the virus. So paper tissue which is containing cellulose, the cardboard which is containing cellulose, wood is containing cellulose, and cotton cloth is containing cellulose. So cellulose somehow hinders with the virus, whereas the synthetic plastic fibers do not hinder the livability or viability of the virus. So from this inference, we thought, and then I also thought why it survives so less, only 3 hours on tissue paper. And we came to know that because tissue paper dehydrates the virus, it desiccates the virus, and there is always some amount of bleach residue which the tissue paper manufacturers, they use to make it more white. So it has some amount of sodium hypochlorite in it. So all these 3 or 4 factors combined together kills the virus within 3 hours. And then after studying this paper, we thought that DIY mask is the best way for India's small hospitals and clinics in a longer run, because this virus and this epidemic is likely to survive for in India for another 1 year or so. So we are looking at spending on masks for next 1 year. So it's much better, to make our own mask. And we have to select thin cloth for inner side, thin cotton cloth for inner side, which will remain towards our face, and a thick cloth on the outer side. And whether that cloth is permeable to the aerosol or not, you can test by, this is an aerosol generation gun, or you can even do it under dark room, keeping a black towel here and just spray perfume or spray the water, and you will realize that whether the aerosol is passing or not. So this is a good cloth, not allowing much of the aerosol to pass. And as I said, cellulose desiccates, and synthetic dye from denim and cotton, leaching synthetic dye inactivates the virions. So even in USA now, the public has started shifting from N95 masks to denim and cotton cloth masks. And when the matter came to Atmanirbhar Bharat, we decided, can we make ABBA masks? ABBA is for Atmanirbhar Bharat. So, of course, this is not to be used like this, but this is just to show. So she is my sister who is very fond of sewing. So she made, for all her dresses, she made a matching mask with a pocket for tissue paper. So this mask, let's see the demo. So this is a very good idea of creating a sandwich mask or a pocketed mask in which you can put a tissue paper in between. And then she also made almost like an N95 mask with a single strap with a button here, so that you can tighten it very well. And this is, you can see how well fitting it is. And this is just a single button with which you can release, rather than tying every time and untying it. And on the outer side, you can use the cloth which is used for umbrella. And on the inner side, you can use the cloth which is the best cotton, so that your lips will like the touch of the cotton. And size should be 18 by 9 centimeter for adults. It's the same size as the normal surgical mask. And here is her number, Dr. Nipa Ben. If you want to ask anything about mask, she will be happy to answer you. And this is a study which is from that website I suggested, that they tested all the different materials for permeability. And they found that N95 mask, surgical mask, and HEPA filter and coffee filter, canvas and kitchen towel, more or less, have all of them had more than 95% filtration capacity. So you can use a good quality tissue paper, preferably a face tissue paper, which is made from virgin material, not recycled, with very nice soft filling and with very nice kind of filtration trapping. Some branded face tissue paper. You can also use filter coffee papers, which are freely available for the decoction South Indian type of coffee. These are available in two styles, bleached and unbleached. So don't use unbleached because we want a little residue of bleach, which will help us destroy the virus as fast as possible. And you can also cut open the reverse osmosis candle and take the reverse osmosis paper from that candle, which will give you about a 2 meter or 3 meter, which will be good enough to make about 50 masks from one candle, and that candle doesn't cost more than 300 rupees or something. Or you can use HEPA filter bag, which are available at most of the appliances stores, which are used in vacuum cleaners as dust collection bag. Now these HEPA filters are very good material because they trap 99.97% of dust and pollens down to 0.3 microns. So this HEPA filter is, if you use this between the two cloth layers, it is as good as N95 mask. HEPA is an acronym for high efficiency particulate air filter, and this can remove almost 99.97% of dust pollen. Even you can make the entire mask from HEPA filter, but it's better to have cotton on our lip side so that we have a good feeling. And then we thought of some idea for those who do not have their own spectacles to protect their eyes from getting infected by the aerosol. So dentists or other surgeons can use this kind of mask, which is having the shield, so that you don't have to wear an extra shield on your head. You can see that it does not leak from the side also. The flame doesn't flicker. So there is no leak from side or from front. I came across during this research at the Central Salt Institute. This is a breathable polymer sheets for greenhouse plantations. These sheets are semi-transparent or almost transparent to light, and these are transparent to vapor H2O, transparent to oxygen, transparent to carbon dioxide, but this is not transparent to any pollutant gases, so that the plants inside this greenhouse would grow healthy. And we are trying to make masks out of this so that those masks will be transparent to everything, as well as it will transfer to visibility of your smile also. This is another thing which is devised by my sister. This is an acrylic shield which is made and bent into a C, which will work as a shield between the patient and you when you are discussing at a shorter distance, especially in small clinics or in general practitioners' clinic. This will be very, very useful kind of shield. And he is Dr. Mukesh Dolakia, my friend from Mahua, India. This is his idea of sterilizing the N95 mask in a cooker, in a solar cooker. Because in solar cooker, the temperature goes above 80 degrees very quickly within 15 to 20 minutes. So you keep the mask, rather than keeping for 4 days in dry sunlight, you keep it in the solar cooker, and they are ready for reuse in about 2 hours time. And if you don't have the solar cooker, this is my sister's idea again, to convert old umbrella by coating it with aluminum foil so that all the UV light will be focused at this location. You cut the handle of the umbrella by half, and that is the focal point of this parabolic reflector. And here you can keep the mask and be irradiated. And this is something interesting. She's my another sister. She is head of the Department of Anesthesia in Bhavnagar Medical College, and she's in charge of the COVID ward. And initially, we studied this. And we thought, if I can make an examiner at home, can we make a ventilator at home? So I gathered my team of carpenters and made a simple ventilator which will compress the ambu bag. Of course, we never applied for certification, but this is very useful, especially for anesthetists. For long anesthesia, you can just put, rather than manually pressing the ambu bag, you can just put your ambu bag in this. And this is very simple. This is made from a motor, which is the wiper motor of the car. And by adjusting the voltage, you can increase the speed and frequency. And by adjusting this camshaft, you can increase or decrease the vital volume also. So this is the motor, which is car's wiper motor. So with that, I would like to end my talk with this message that never stop learning, and in life there should be ever stop learning. Thank you very much, and wishing you all. Okay, this is the शायरी which I made during this time. हमने शब्दों को सैनिटाइज किए हैं, कविता को किया है क्वारंटाइन, और प्रेम संक्रमण फैले नहीं आज, इसलिए लागनी को किया है लॉकडाउन. Wishing you all very happy 2020, and not only happy 2020, but with UV light, Corona and COVID-free 2020. Thank you very much for your patience.
To that, few people have asked that Corona is commercially available or not. I think you need to go with that.
No, it's not commercially available. We made about 50 of those units, and Dr. RC has given about 42 different doctors in Bombay.
Yeah.
It is to be used only once, and so all those doctors or all those patients who come positive, they use it and give it back to us. And as soon as I finish this study, I'm going to publish something on YouTube how it can be made. It's nothing. The cost of it is not more than 2,500 rupees or 3,000 rupees.
Okay.
And the life of the UV lamp is 9,000 hours. So at a rate of 3 to 4 minutes per patient, we can treat 1.25 lakh patient out of that 2,500 rupees box.
Yes.
So it's almost like there's no cost, practically.
Sir, there are few inquiries regarding the availability of the UV tube light and the UV torch.
Right.
Where is it available and how much is the cost?
The UV tube lights, you have to contact your local Philips dealer or Osram dealer.
Okay.
And I gave 2 numbers in my talk, who is an Ahmedabad dealer who handles the entire Gujarat, and 1 person here in Bhavnagar who supplies in Bhavnagar. But you can contact this Pune company, ArcLight.
ArcLight, okay.
So because ArcLight, Philips tubes have been so much in high demand all over the world that I think at least for another 30-40 days, we may not be able to get enough supply of Philips tubes. So ArcLight, they make in India, and they're very good. They're really good. So you can contact ArcLight people for tube if your local Philips dealer cannot supply. And in the meanwhile, to tide over the acute shortage, you can just go on Amazon, buy 11 watt tubes, which are ample available. 11 watt tubes are available in thousands. So you buy 3 11 watt and tie it somewhere on some rod or something, and it is as good as 33 watt. Or use 4 and it makes 44 watt. So there's nothing wrong in using that small UV tube in more numbers. Still you get the bigger tubes.
I think, sir, providing the electricity to these tubes is very crucial, because the wavelength may change with the amount of electricity or the voltage given to the tubes.
It comes with its own chalk.
Okay.
The tube comes with its own choke, which will convert 24 volt, 230 volt down to 24 volt DC with a 60 hertz frequency between the two electrodes.
Okay, fine. More about the throat treatment and how those people have got like PCR, RT-PCR negative in 1 or 2 treatments of UV radiation only. The whole blood is how the whole blood is exposed to this.
Yeah, right. So uh, when you are radiating the mucosa, throat mucosa, you are not radiating only throat mucosa. You are actually radiating the blood circulating under the UV. And in 4 minutes time, done twice, that means it's an 8 minutes of exposure. So in 8 minutes, the entire blood, let us say these patients are running at a rate of 90 to 100 beats per minute. And at 100 beats per minute, the entire 7 liter of circulation will pass through the throat and lung mucosa in about 2 minutes time. So 2 times the blood has circulated. How it helps in lung is by inhaling the ozone. How it helps in sinuses is by inhaling the ozone and the nascent oxygen. And how it helps in the local mucosa as well as the blood which has passed under the UV in the local mucosa is by direct action. So UV does not act only physically, it acts as photons as well as it acts as nascent oxygen and as ozone.
Okay, fine. That is great explanation. Thank you very much, sir.
It's a physics and chemistry combined together.
Yeah.
And you take a UV to your near to your nose and wait for about 15 to 20 seconds. You'll start feeling that nascent oxygen like the chlorine.
Okay.
So there is one question again, sir. Probably the person is a gynecologist. So he is asking, can UVC light be used after opening the abdomen to sterilize the surgical field? Can it be used?
Theoretically, yes.
Theoretically, okay.
Theoretically, yes. Because once you open the abdomen, you can shine the light, and wherever the light would go, it would activate the virus for very sure. And theoretically, yes, it should work. But I don't have the final conclusive answer. But there is no reason not to work.
Lecture in depth and sparing your valuable time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, the Antod people, Alpesh sir, Rohit sir, Raman sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
I thank you for spending the entire Sunday evening with me, almost 3 hours.
It gives me immense pleasure to deliver vote of thanks on behalf of Amravati District Ophthalmic Society. I would like to thank our guest speaker, Dr. Jagdeep Kakadia sir, for his important talk. Sir, your ideas and your very your talk, it was the excellent talk. I am very much thankful to all the participants for participating in this webinar. And last but not the least, I am very much thankful to Antod Pharma for the support for this webinar. Once again, thank you.
And 15
Our
minutes.
pleasure.